there, it's Karen, and today we have a brand new book. It's called Rosie Revere, Engineer, and it's written by Andrea Beatty and illustrated by David Roberts. This is the story of Rosie Revere, who dreamed of becoming a great engineer. In Lila Greer's classroom at Blue River Creek, young Rosie sat shyly, not daring to speak. And you see her there? She's quite shy, little girl in the front row. But when no one saw her, she peeked in the trash for treasures to add to her engineer's stash. And late at night, Rosie rolled up her sleeves and built in her hideaway under the eaves. You see her digging out stuff there that nobody wants. And look at all her junk. Alone in her attic, the moon high above, dear Rosie made gadgets and gizmos she loved. And when she grew sleepy, she hid her machines far under the bed where they'd never be seen. When Rosie was young, she had not been so shy. She worked with her hair swooping over one eye and made fine inventions for uncles and aunts. A hot dog dispenser and helium pants. You see the hot dog dispenser and helium pants. Look at her uncle flying up like he's a balloon at a birthday party. The uncle she loved most was zookeeper Fred. She made him a hat to keep snakes off his head from parts of a fan and some cheddar cheese spray, which everyone knows keeps the pythons away. And there's Fred. Look at him. And when it was finished, young Rosie was proud, but Fred slapped his knee and he chuckled out loud. He laughed till he wheezed and his eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who stood there embarrassed, perplexed, and dismayed. She looked at the cheese hat and then looked away. "I love it," Fred hooted. "Oh, truly I do." But Rosie Revere knew that could not be true. She stuck the cheese hat on the back of her shelf, and after that day kept her dreams to herself. And there's Fred, you see him with a snake on his head, on his arms, on the ground. And that's how it went, till one autumn day, her oldest relation showed up for a stay. Her great-great-aunt Rose was a true dynamo who'd worked building airplanes a long time ago. She told Rosie the tales of the things she had done and goals she had checked off her list one by one. She gave a sad smile as she looked to the sky. "The only thrill left on my list is to fly. But time never lingers as long as it seems. I'll chalk that one up to an old lady's dreams." You see, there she is, working on a big plane in the war. That night, as Rosie lay wide-eyed in her bed, a daring idea crept into her head. Could she build a gizmo to help her aunt fly? She looked at the cheese hat and said, "No, not I." But questions are tricky, and some hold on tight, and this one kept Rosie awake through the night. So when dawn approached and red streaks lit the sky, young young Rosie knew just how to make her aunt fly. She worked and she worked till the day was half gone, then hauled her cheese copter out onto the lawn to give her invention a test, just to see the ridiculous flop it might turn out to be. You see, she doesn't want anyone to see it if it doesn't work. She's got it all hidden under this wrapping even, so no one can see it. Strapped into the cockpit, she flipped on the switch. The Hello Cheese copter sputtered and twitched. It floated a moment and whirled round and round, then froze for a heartbeat and crashed to the ground. That was quite an invention. Then Rosie heard laughter and turned round to see the old woman laughing and slapping her knee. She laughed till she wheezed and her eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who thought, "Oh no, never, not ever again will I try to build something to sputter or spin, or build with a lever, a switch, or a gear, and never will I be a great engineer." But here comes the surprise. She turned round to leave, but then Great Aunt Rose grabbed hold of young Rosie and pulled her in close and hugged her and kissed her and started to cry. "You did it! Hooray! It's the perfect first try. This great flop is over. It's time for the next." Young Rosie was baffled, embarrassed, perplexed. "I failed," said dear Rosie. "It's just made of trash. Didn't you see it? The cheese copter crashed." "Yes," said her great aunt, "it crashed. That is true. But first it did just what it needed to do. Before it crashed, Rosie, it flew." Your brilliant first flop was a raging success. Come on, let's get busy and on to the next. She handed her notebook to Rosie Revere, who smiled at her aunt as it all became clear. Life might have its failures, but this was not it. The only true failure can come if you quit. And you see there in the notebook, there's all kinds of sketches of hot air balloons and small biplanes and planes flown 18th, 19th century when people said man shouldn't fly. And those were all flown by women. They worked till the sun sneaked away to its bed. Aunt Rose tied her headscarf around Rosie's head and sent her to sleep with a smile ear to ear, to dream the bold dreams of a great engineer. You see their slogan? We can do it! At Blue River Creek, all the kids in grade 2 build gizmos and gadgets and doohickeys too. With each perfect failure, they all stand and cheer, but none quite as proudly as Rosie Revere. Rosie Revere. So that just shows you have to keep trying anything you're learning to do, whether it's something great like building a machine to fly, or whether it's learning a new game, or how to spell. All these things, you have to keep trying. So let's remember Rosie and her great aunt's slogan, "We can do it." That's it for today. Hope you like this story. It was loaned to me by my dear friend Elodie, who lives down the street. We both live near something called the Rosie Revere Museum, which is all about the women who went to work in World War II to build airplanes and big aircraft carrier ships that went out into the ocean where the planes would be able to land. It's a good story. Maybe you can find it on the internet. Well, that's it for today. Bye.